Hi, Adrian Friccioni from Thatch Fitness. Today I want to talk about what is probably the most dangerous exercise you can do in the gym for your core. I previously talked about doing incline sit-ups, which is bad enough in itself. This exercise is potentially worse because of a lack of stability through the actual movement. And what I'm talking about is the ab roller. Now, this device has been around for a really long time. I have a clear recollection of being 6 or 7 and finding one of these in my mother's cupboard and taking it out and doing the exercise a few times and then hardly been able to walk for the next 3 or 4 days. My back was that sore. So that was my first recollection of any real exercise when I was young. They lost favour. That's because so many people were getting injured using it, and now for some reason they've made a comeback and you do find them just about everywhere. Now, why is the exercise so dangerous? Let me give you a little example. So how the exercise is typically done is you do it on your knees, you have your hands here, you roll on out to some sort of distance, and then you roll on back again. Now, the problem with this is that this has all got to do with hip flexors. Now, if you have a look at my lower back, as I roll forward, what you often see people do is they get themselves in this massively anterior rotated. So you see this interior rotated position of my pelvis, and you see I've got this big arch in my lower back, and they'll rock out like this with this huge arch and then come on back. And all that's happening there is that my hip flexors are doing a large amount of the work to try and stop my pelvis from dropping to the floor. And because there's this instability component out here, it's just extremely challenging. So if you want to use this exercise, there's a couple of things I'd suggest. Firstly, you need to be in really good shape before you even think about doing the exercise. Core needs to be very, very strong. Secondly, what you should do is you should really work on a major posterior pelvic tilt, like when I demonstrated the active plank that I did in a few clips ago. So what would that look like? So my start position, so rather than being here with sort of a soft lower back and a little bit of an arch in my lower back, I'm going to squeeze my glutes under and I'm going to try and do the biggest posterior pelvic tilt I can possibly do. From that position, I'm then going to roll out slowly. That's another error that's done. And I'm going to maintain that posterior pelvic tilt for as long as I possibly can. Now, I'm going to keep squeezing my bum, posterior tilt. And as soon as I feel I can't keep that posterior tilt, then I'm going to slowly come on back to my start position and then repeat. So by doing that, what I've done is I've kept myself away from an anterior pelvic tilt, which is really dangerous with the exercise. I've slowed the whole movement down, and that's, again, a huge mistake that I see people doing core training too fast before their core is stable enough to be able to handle even stuff slowly. Doing it at high speed just instantly leads to lack of control and the hip flexors coming in and taking over and loading your lower back. The other thing is, don't go out so far. Like all of these exercises, a bit like when I talked about incline sit-ups, you don't need to sit all the way up. Well, with this exercise, you don't need to roll all the way out until you're almost touching the floor with your nose. You go out as far as you can maintain quality technique, and the moment you feel that technique start to give way or you feel any load on your lower back, then you, with control, try and come on back to a start position, reset, and then repeat. Again, this is a highly advanced exercise. I don't prescribe this exercise to anyone, but if you're going to use it, hopefully there's some tips that you can take away that will make it as safe as you possibly can.